Hi everyone, we'll just wait a minute maybe for more people to come. But we'll start pretty soon because I'm very pro events starting on time. This is being recorded as well.
G'day all.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Kia ora, everyone. It's great to have you here. Could I just ask anybody who's not speaking during the event to keep their mic muted? That would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to jump in. Hello, everyone. Here we are, the launch of issue 2 of YOUth&I. It's beautiful, genuinely really beautiful. You can access it as a PDF now and the individual entries. I'm going to send a link in the chat. There we go. So the individual entries are up on the website.
Yeah.
And yes, again, I'd just like to remind you all that the event's being recorded and it'll be available online afterwards. I'm speaking to you tonight from Dharawal country, otherwise known as Wollongong, on the east coast of Australia. I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land here, the Wadi Wadi people, and in the various places in which we are meeting today. And I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any First Nations people who are here today. In Australia, we welcome people to events by beginning with an acknowledgement of country, but it's also important to recognise that Indigenous land in Australia was never ceded. We've never had a treaty with our Indigenous peoples, and as settlers, we continue to benefit from occupying this stolen land. And I'd also like to acknowledge the difficulties we've had as a largely white intersex movement in Australia in engaging with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander intersex people. And this is an issue we commit to continue to work on. I hope you've all managed to access a copy by now. Please have a quick flick over it while I introduce myself. I'll then give a bit of background to some intersex issues in this project before passing over to our wonderful contributors to hear from them. We may or may not have time for questions at the end. I really am not sure, but please feel free to post any questions or comments in the chat during the event and we can address things as we go. So my name is Steph Lum. I'm an intersex advocate, poet, and a legal researcher from Australia. I'm the founder and co-editor of YOUth&I, which began with its first issue in 2019. And as I said, I'm speaking to you tonight from Dharawal country, though this issue has mostly been produced in Naarm on Wurundjeri country, otherwise known as Melbourne. YOUth&I's fabulous graphic designer, Gabby Niemeyer, and our incredible editor and also my sister, Britt Lum, have also been working from Melbourne on this project, and our brilliant stakeholder manager, Georgia Andrews, is from Wellington, New Zealand. We've got a mixed audience here, and I know some people here don't really know who intersex people are. So before we hear from our contributors, let me just talk a little bit about what this is all about. What are we doing here? YOUth&I is a publication which shares the works of young intersex people, young being about 30 years and younger. And it shares their stories, poetry, drawings, and other art. And one of the many reasons why this is so important is because intersex people are hardly ever heard and are actively silenced by the medical profession, families, and the societies that we grow up in. Intersex people are born with variations in sex characteristics, so sex characteristics that look different to what is considered typical for male and female bodies. But there are many ways people can be intersex, and there are over 40 different kinds of variations, and those present differently too. So, you know, it's not always obvious either. Variations can sometimes be wholly internal or maybe completely unknown to the person themselves. So we really all have quite a range of experiences living with intersex bodies. But what really connects us together in many ways are the risks that we face and the stigma of living with bodies that look different, and the pressures to physically change ourselves to fit in. Where intersex variations are discovered, intersex people, especially children and young people, but also older people, face surgeries and hormonal interventions to normalise their bodies. But this is often done without their consent, because it's assumed that that's obviously because it would be completely devastating to have a body that's different in any way. And how else could you possibly ever have a partner? So instead of helping intersex people to learn about their bodies, learn that other people like them exist and are happy as they are, and letting intersex people know about what medical options are available to them if they want to take them, instead we teach intersex people that their bodies are so shameful, we have to physically change them before anyone could bear to be with them. And this obviously has devastating consequences for a lot of intersex people's sense of self and connection with others. And it really isolates us from each other when we're told that there's no one else like us. We have a lot of trouble here in Australia, and I know this happens elsewhere too, where doctors don't refer intersex people to other intersex people or to affirmative support groups. They call us the angry activists, the few of us who are really upset and vocal about it, while the silent majority are happy with their surgeries. And they say this with seemingly no comprehension of how shame and societal expectations of how men and women should be and act would impact the willingness of people to talk about their experiences, or even consider that there are other ways that they could possibly be. And we've literally, been told directly and indirectly our entire lives not to talk about our bodies, or even really critically think about what has happened or is happening to us. There are a lot of other challenges intersex people face, but I don't want to take up too much space here. I was thinking a lot about how to introduce intersex and youth&I, but I don't know, I already feel a bit awkward about this introduction because most of you here are intersex, and everything I've just said, you know this, you feel this, you live this. So I'm sorry to talk about you when really I mean to talk to you. Youth&I is for endosex or non-intersex people to read and learn from, but it's primarily for intersex people. It's for you, the young kid who is going to spend your summer holidays in the hospital, even though you don't really know what's going on. And then you're going to lie about what you did in your holidays when you're back at school. It's for you, the kid who's been taking pills for as long as you remember, but you don't know what they're for. You just know they somehow relate to the scars on your body. And it's for you who's just been given a dilator and you don't really want to use it, but you've been told you need to if you're ever going to find a husband. You're not alone. In many ways, Youth&I was created so that we wouldn't have to keep on talking about all the issues we face, because you can see them in these stories and artwork. These are our lived experiences from across the world. And in them, you can see how seemingly, no matter where you come from, the shame of being born with different sex characteristics leaves a similar mark on us and our relationships with our families and communities. Youth&I first came about in 2019 when I received a grant from the ACT Office of LGBTIQ Affairs. And the idea was really to create a space for us, for young intersex people to share in their own words their experiences. Oftentimes, if the media do ever want to share a piece about intersex, they already have this idea in their minds about what they want to write about. And normally it's someone born with obviously ambiguous genitalia and living a life of not being a man or a woman, which is true for some of us, but not for most of us. And I wanted intersex people to write their own stories. It shouldn't really be that big a deal, but this doesn't really exist for intersex people in the way that, you can find books on queer or trans stories in publications around the place. How can we know there are other people like us out there if we can't see each other? And not only see other intersex people, but see that we are proud to be intersex and we are proud to have found each other. Something that comes up again and again in so many of these stories is how life-changing it is to find other intersex people. and how it changed how people saw and felt about themselves and the decisions they felt they could have from that point on. And I have to say as well that working on issue 2, it's not only great to meet other intersex people, but to work with them. I'm so delighted to have found other intersex people to work with on this issue. A strong vision for this project is really to develop issues of intersex stories that supports the work and development of young intersex writers and creatives, but also brings on board intersex people to work on this project and upskill members of the community. And so for this issue, we've worked as a team of intersex people to bring issue 2 to you. We're very thankful to be auspiced by Intersex Human Rights Australia and have their support for our project. We've also sought intersex people from around the world to contribute to this in any language they like. And this is so important because it's so hard if you don't speak English to engage in international intersex spaces. And so much of intersex community organising happens online and through English speaking groups. So we tried really hard to reach out further, and we brought on board translators, most of whom are also intersex, to help us with that engagement. And I'm extremely grateful for their generosity and their feedback and all their translation work. It's a much better publication for it. I'm going to stop now, and we're going to listen to some of our amazing contributors read out their own works. Not everyone wanted to or could, because of time zone differences, read out their own pieces, so I've asked other intersex people to step in. So first up, we have Mimi reading a piece from Zuza. It's on pages 12 to 15 for those of you following in the PDF.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Mimi. My pronouns are she and they. And I am a proud intersex person here in Canberra on Ngunnawal country. And I'm really lucky enough to have been invited today to read for you a piece by Zuza Pionka, a 23-year-old intersex activist and emerging producer from Warsaw, Poland. So a bit about Zuza is that she loves to take on small activities all the time, and her favorite hobbies are lying in water and eating cookies, which are very good hobbies, definitely. It should also be mentioned before I start this piece that it was originally written in Polish, and that I will be reading the English translation. You're so close, you can't hear me. 3 years ago, I came out for the first time and shared my story of living with MRKH, Maya Rokitansky Kunster Hauser syndrome. It was one of the most difficult and important moments in my life, which sometimes still has unpleasant consequences, affects my relationships and the way I am perceived. However, I do not regret choosing to share this about myself, as it has been able to support people who need it. Quite quickly, though, the label intersex was imposed on me without any explanation of what it meant, and I was invited into a community I didn't want to be a part of. It was all completely incomprehensible to me at the time. My reluctance was caused by ignorance, uncertainty, and fear, because it was a completely new experience. I guess I was just scared. This is not clear to everyone, because if you speak up and share your story, there's an assumption that you are brave, that you have worked everything out, and that you can deal with anything. But I didn't feel that way. It wasn't until a few months ago that I began to define myself as an intersex woman. How I defined myself was a challenge to me, once again. During an interview, one of the journalists started to question whether being seedless, as in having MRKH, meant being intersex. Then some people I told about my experience said that it was nothing new, and my coming out as seedless was synonymous with defining myself as intersex. It seems that because I have MRKH, I'm considered somewhere between being a woman and being queer, always inadequate and mismatched. At least this is the most common narrative about people with MRKH. Some people think we do not deserve to belong in women's circles due to our absence of menstruation and inability to get pregnant. Yet, because heteronormative ideas are forced upon most of us, it is also difficult to become part of the queer community, where some of us want to belong but find it challenging to fit in. Seedless people are silenced. In Poland, Very few doctors are able to help us. We still have to educate them, pretend and adjust. And when we speak, we must fit into a space predefined for us. Over the past 3 years, I have realized that giving someone space to speak is very important, but also challenging. Allies cannot force someone to share their story or define themselves in a specific way. It seems pretty logical and straightforward, but in all of this, it is easy to get lost and get so close that we stop hearing the person who we invited to express themselves in the first place. Being an ally requires not only a willingness to act, but also a large dose of empathy and willingness to listen, which not everyone has or is able to do. If you want to be a good ally, you must remember that someone is sharing their experience with you and that you become responsible for that person's message. I just wish I could act without thinking about how others will perceive me and how they will interpret what I say or do. I wish I could act without feeling like I need to comply with someone else's rules. I wish I could stop always thinking about how my activism impacts my daily life. I am constantly afraid of all these things, and I'm tired of this fear. I want to finally be able to think about myself and not blame myself for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mimi. I really love this piece. It's a great reflection on the process of coming to understand and use the word intersex, as well as I think that disconnect between intersex people trying to tell people, who they are, but other people not really listening and bringing their own assumptions. So thank you, Mimi, and thank you, Zuza. I know you'll be listening to this later. I know it's really difficult, but thank you for letting us share this tonight. Next, we have Irene. And we've got a video for Irene. Irene Kuzemko is a 28-year-old from Russia and Ukraine. Irene is a proud intersex person and activist who has been active in the movement since 2015. Irene is part of Intersex Russia, OII Russia, OII Europe, and Interact Youth. And Irene's just moved to Berlin a few days ago, which we're all very excited about, and is currently in isolation. So she sent through this pre-recorded video and her piece is on pages 8 to 9. I don't think we can hear it, Morgan.
Let's have a go again.
Hi, my name is Irene Kuzemko, and I'll be reading out my submission, which is called Don't Tell Anyone. Why do you have to be so detailed and share everything about yourself to everyone? Don't mention the testicle that you have. Why do you have to mention it? Don't come out to this elderly relative. It will kill them. No. I will never tell anyone about the activism that you do and the topic you're working on. I made this photo after a long day of arguing with a family member, and it is about the burning pain of being told, don't tell anyone. Even after being out for years, I feel pushed back into the closet by family members. I'm proud to be intersex. I accept and love my body, and I refuse to hide. I wish my family could support me in this. Thank you so much.
And the image that Irene is referring to is on the website link as well. I think Irene's piece really highlights how silenced intersex people often are, even from people they're really close to. Thank you, Irene. Next, we have Stefan Mills.
Hi.
Yeah. I will take it away. I was going to introduce you, but you're welcome to introduce yourself.
I guess I can introduce myself. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this lovely meeting and the lovely new issue of Youth and I. And my name is Stefan Mills. I am a 20-year-old intersex person. My pronouns are he and him, and I am a second-year medical student. I wrote my piece, which is called Dear Intersex Body, in hopes that some intersex person may read this piece that I wrote and realize that being intersex is okay. And in fact, it can be even beautiful, contrary to what we are often told. I think I'm very fortunate as an intersex person because I have never been operated on without my consent. However, I've had many doctors in the past suggest many operations to me and hormone therapies, and they would insinuate often that my body was abnormal and unlovable. I remember one time a doctor told me that if I didn't undergo surgery to correct my deformity, then I would never have a sexual partner in my lifetime. I actually realized that it is the opposite in a certain sense, that loving my body the way it is has actually brought me nothing but joy and acceptance from my peers and mostly from myself. So I guess I can read my piece now. It's a very personal piece, so I feel a little bit embarrassed reading it. Okay. Dear intersex body, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for never giving up on me. I know it has been hard all these years with all the pain and stuff. You were hard to understand. You were weird. I still don't understand you entirely. Nobody really does, not even the experts. Well, the experts entirely gave up on you when they realized you weren't as simple as a routine blood test. Dear intersex body, I know I hated you a few times, blaming other people's crimes on your uniqueness, but I now know that none of that was your fault. I know I wanted to hurt you a few times, but now I love you. I mean it, I really do. You made me realize a few things during these years. It took me a while, maybe too long, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with me all this time. But I finally realized that you are perfect the way you are. I finally realized that my true happiness does not come from being what I called a normal 100% male. Yes, I now understand that being normal is not the secret ingredient to being happy. Because guess what? I'm happy just the way I am. And I am following my biggest dream right now, studying medicine. And that is thanks to you, my friend. You made me love for medicine with all your weirdness and uniqueness. You forced me to spend hours and hours reading about the wonders of the human body and its peculiarities. You're kind of like my muse. Dear intersex body, you're a body. Everyone has a body. Some are tall, some are short, some are hairy, some are thin. Some are chubby, some are muscular, some have one leg, some have 11 fingers and whatnot. Bodies are awesome. And I guess that's rich coming from a medical student. Everybody is a bit weird. Humans are weird. You just happen to be a bit weirder, statistically, of course. Everyone has a body and I have you. Dear intersex body, I'm going to take care of you in the best way I can. I will never give up on you. I will fix your pain just like you fixed mine by doing the best that you could. And about that, thank you for all you have done for me. Thank you for all the testosterone. Thank you for all the body hair, the deeper voice, the ambiguous genitalia. Thank you for not making me a normal girl. You know I never wanted to be a girl. And now it's my turn to help you. It's teamwork, buddy. You just give me the curiosity to study you and I will study you. We've been doing this for years, you and I. Dear intersex body, I know they tried to hurt you. They were scared of you. They wanted to fix you by destroying your beauty. But little did they know you were stronger than they could ever imagine. Dear intersex body, you're cool. No, you're awesome. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Stefan.
Thank you, thank you.
You're wonderful. I think you offer us a really strong insight into, those shifts of self-understanding and growth that a lot of us face. Thank you so much for sharing your own experiences with us.
Thank you.
Next, we have another pre-recorded video from Macarena Muru. Macarena is an intersex activist from Cordoba, Argentina, and is one of the founders of the organization Potencia Intersex. She studies literature and lives in a house with 2 friends and 2 cats. I'm really delighted Macarena could share this recording with us, and her work is on page 10 of the publication.
Hi, my name is Macarena. I'm an intersex activist from Argentina. I'm in the group Potence Intersex. And last year, during the pandemic, during the lockdown in our country, I started writing about my intersex experience because being in lockdown reminded me a lot of the feelings of loneliness and isolation that I felt during my teenage years when I hadn't yet found the intersex community. This is one of those poems. I'm gonna read it first in Spanish and then in English. ¿Qué somos? Un tercer sexo, freaks de circo, fetiche, monstruos mitológicos. No. Cuerpos enfermos, síndromes, anomalías, emergencias clínicas. No. Somos intersex. Con la carne de nuestros cuerpos vinimos a desmontar el mito. En el cielo, el grito resiliente. Fuera sus bisturís de nuestros cuerpos. Fuera sus bisturís de nuestros cuerpos. Fuera sus bisturís de nuestros cuerpos. Habrán mutilado nuestros genitales, pero no podrán amputar nuestras gargantas. Who we are. Intersex, circus freaks, fetishes, mythical creatures. No. Tainted bodies, anomalies, syndromes, health emergencies. No. We are intersex. The flesh of our bodies strips the myth. Our resilient cry pierces the air. Scalpels away. Scalpels away. Scalpels away. They may have mutilated our bodies, but they can't amputate our voice.
Very powerful. Macarena's poem, she has two poems actually in this issue, and both of them are very visceral. Thank you, Macarena. Next, I've asked Mfatso to read for us. Mfatso will read a piece from Sam on pages 18 to 22. Sam has asked to be anonymous, and so we will not share any further information than what is in this piece.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I'm not sure if I'm audible enough. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to start by introducing myself, then I can read the poem.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name's Mbaso Sakala, and I'm from Zambia. I'm the founder and executive director of Intersex Society of Zambia, and I'm currently the chairperson of the African Intersex movement. And I'm very humbled to be part of this. This is very important, especially for intersex persons, because there is so much which needs to be done. We need to change our narrative rather than people developing different narratives for ourselves. So this is very good, and I hope this can continue, and we can also continue to work together for a common cause, which is to amplify our voices as intersex persons and also to fight for our rights. We don't need to find ways and means to fit in. We should be able to exist just like any other person does. So, This is an excerpt of some piece, which is my experience of being intersex and pregnant. As an intersex non-binary person, I want to share parts of my personal experiences with pregnancy and parenthood. One doctor once told me that if I ever want to get pregnant, I should directly come to see her and not to bother trying. Another gynecologist claimed that winning the lottery was more likely. I thought I would probably never be pregnant and told myself I am fine with that. I didn't want to get my hopes up. At the time, I didn't want kids anyway. I thought about co-parenting with queer friends or having a child with a girlfriend who could become pregnant. But later adoption also crossed my mind. This was a hypothetical option and not urgent. Even though I really like kids, I knew this was not the only life-fulfilling plan. I tried not to worry about never having a child. I thought that becoming pregnant, if even possible, was going to be a complicated procedure, and I disliked the thought of taking even more hormonal treatments than what I used to take. In the past, I had stopped taking hormones several times despite my doctor's disapproval since they didn't make me feel good. So you can imagine my surprise at finding out I was pregnant. I discovered I was pregnant because one day I started feeling weird. At first, I didn't really worry about it. I was convinced I couldn't get pregnant and we were mostly using protection. After a while, I realized I felt even worse than usual about my breasts. I couldn't get the thought out of my head. What if I get pregnant without realizing it? Because I am convinced it's impossible. I decided to do a test. I was convinced it would turn out to be negative and I just wanted to stop worrying. When I saw the result, I first felt shame that I wasn't careful enough about contraception. I felt I had behaved irresponsibly. I felt guilty for ending up in this situation. I thought everybody would judge me for being pregnant in my situation. I felt dumb to have trusted others. I thought probably misunderstood the risk and should have known better. I believed I was unable to raise a child due to my mental health, my struggles with my identity and body, my financial instability, my studies, and the uncertainty about my relationship. I thought everybody would judge me unfit to be a parent. I was afraid of all the responsibility and the prospect of raising a child alone. I had contradictory emotions. Sometimes I was happy in a weird and illogical way, almost proud to be pregnant. I liked the idea of having a child, but there were too many reasons not to keep it. There has never been a time in my life where I was perceived and addressed as much as a woman, a mother, and as feminine. This made me feel uncomfortable. I also felt bad about my breasts. I felt wrong both in medical settings and birth preparation classes. The latter was very cis heteronormative and binary. It amplified ideological ideas about what was supposedly natural in birth and what was the best and right ways to give birth. It reinforced sexist ideas of the role motherhood entailed. The misogyncy going on in the class and in society was not the only reason I felt uncomfortable. It isn't the reason I don't identify as a woman or mother either. I was uncomfortable in my body, being continuously addressed as a woman, a mother, and called by my wrong name. It made me feel sick. Instead of being empowered and out as an intersex non-binary person, figuring out the next steps for my transition, I felt like I was stepping back inside the pathologizing and cis-heteronormative closet. Generally, I felt out of my body and out of control. I didn't like going to all the doctor appointments. I didn't feel like myself and often felt deeply unhappy and ashamed. In moments where I was most aware of my body, like in the shower or during examinations, I felt a deep disgust and nausea. But I liked the baby belly and feeling the baby move. And although I was afraid of the birth, I was looking forward to meeting the baby. Therapy helped a lot, as well as my supportive friends and boyfriend. I finally made it through pregnancy. After 21 hours of labor, I could hold my sweet baby in my arms. So that's the end of that poem. It really hits close to some of the things which we feel as intersex persons. And just reading this, it also just reflects on how much we go through as intersex persons. This is not easy to carry, but I applaud this person and I wish them well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mfatso. Thank you. I'm so glad you're able to join us and read that for us. And thank you, Sam. You know, these are just, Mfatso just read out excerpts, but I really encourage you to read all of it because it's very well written and such a unique experience. We have very few stories publicly about intersex people and pregnancy. So to hear Sam's experiences about, you know, what medical information they were receiving and the treatment during and post-pregnancy is really just so important to read. Now I'm going to pass on to Briette, who will now read two pieces for us, one from Narinda and one from Meli Kurata. Thank you, Briette.
Hi. Just beginning with myself, I guess. That is, my name is Briette. I'm a queer activist from Iceland. So good morning. Just woke up, and I'm the co-founder and vice chair of Intersex Iceland. My career as an intersex educator began quite young, as I was 10 years old, when I held my first talk about intersex things. And that was my class. And yeah, I also live with two actual hermaphrodites. That is my two pet snails, Gary and the Plague. It's an unfortunate name, but that is just how it is. I'm gonna begin reading the story written by Narinda Niarasati, and it's originally written in Indonesian, but I will read an English translation. Narinda is a 26-year-old from Bogor, a small city in Indonesia. And Narinda has worked as a laborer at a shoe factory and has also worked as a food seller and fast food waiter. So this is the story, My Different Life. Hi, my name is Narinda. I'm an intersex person from Indonesia and I'm 26 years old. I'm going to tell you about my different life. As I was born intersex, I have faced many bad experiences since I was a kid. I have felt different from my friends. A girl is supposed to look beautiful with a soft voice and smooth skin. However, I was not like that. My strong and deep voice made me sound like a man, and because of this, my friends used to bully me. Yet, I managed to get through it. Whenever someone bullied me, I got angry and resisted. I hit them. They would then be afraid to repeat their actions. I started my teenage phase when I was in junior high school. Coming from a village, I had to adapt to city life. The other students were elite and rich. I was so fortunate that I was one of the students at this renowned school. I was able to attend the school on a sports scholarship. I came first in athletics, running, and long jump. Still, these achievements did not mean I had many friends. I was excluded and didn't know many people there. My appearance was different, and I was sad because my friends laughed at me and made fun of me. I became quiet and alone. I thought about quitting school, but I didn't because I thought of my parents. Although I kept facing bad treatment at school, I never told my parents about what was happening. I kept it to myself. I survived and continued making achievements in athletics. I became more involved in an athletics club, and I had good friends there. No one bullied me or looked at me differently. On the contrary, they were all kind and friendly to me. It made me feel so happy doing the daily exercises. I was a completely different kid. I was quiet at school, but a very cheerful kid at the club. When I moved to senior high school, my situation did not change much. Nevertheless, at that moment, I had several close friends who accepted my condition. Early on in my time there, I could not tolerate people who bullied me. I would punch them right away. But as time went on, I got used to it and ignored them. I became stronger and didn't care much because I had friends who supported me and cheered me up. Then graduation day came, and a whole new world was waiting for me. I was afraid and didn't know what to do once I left school. I no longer saw my friends. I was alone again. Would I ever meet good friends who accepted me the way I am? This question kept haunting me. Before I talk about my current situation, I have two stories that I want to share, which I will never forget. When I was in junior high school, I had dengue fever. I was taken to the hospital. During treatment, the doctor noticed something different about me. My genitals looked similar to male genitalia. The doctor advised me to have a further examination to determine whether I'm male or female. The doctor examined me after I recovered and was ready to check out from the hospital. I had an ultrasonography test. My parents and I didn't understand what was happening. We followed the doctor's suggestion. She poured some liquid on her hand and said, "I will observe from the anal canal because you are too young to have a vaginal observation." My parents and I just nodded. She inserted her finger repeatedly into my anal canal. I said that it was painful, but the doctor asked me to bear the feeling and relax. After that, she gave me the sonogram and she told me that I was a girl because I had a uterus. The second event happened during senior high school. I had a biology teacher who noticed my physical difference. One day after the biology class finished, I was asked to meet her in her office during break time. I thought I had a problem with my biology lesson. When I came to the teacher's office, she asked me about my physical difference. She asked about my menstrual periods and my heavy, deep voice. She told me to check my condition to ensure whether I was a girl or a boy. I was offended by her statement. I said that I had already had an examination and the result stated that I was a girl. I immediately left the office, and after that, the teacher never spoke of it again. I will never forget these two experiences. After I graduated from senior high school, I worked at a shoe factory. It was another new world that I had to face. I did my tasks and had several friends the same age as me. However, we were not close. I was happy enough that I could work and earn money. However, it did not go well. People always see me differently because of my intersex body. I became one of their jokes. I cried, but they still bullied me and laughed at me. My supervisor noticed this, but didn't care at all, as if nothing was happening. This happened twice. It first happened when I was still a new employee and didn't know anyone yet. And then it happened again not long ago. I recently decided to resign from the company. I couldn't bear the situation anymore. That is my life story of living as an intersex person. There are very few positive experiences because people always pull a strange face when they notice something is different about me. Difference is not a reason to mistreat anyone. Treat people well, no matter how different they are. Embrace, be kind, and give equal treatment. Everyone deserves that. Yeah. It's strange reading this because I have had such a different experience with my intersex body, but in the same way, very similar. So I don't know how to react to this text, but yeah. Well, I think I'm just gonna go to the next one, which is a poem by Meli Kurata. And Meli Kurata is an intersex artist and activist of Intersectione Intersex Youth Group. He's also a co-founder of Angry and Intersexy. And the original text is in Italian, and I will read an English translation. Translated by Stefan Mills. I hear them from afar. Their words hit closer. They ridicule my body, talking about decency. What decency? The one that wants me dead. Short and very pointed. I like it. It's a good poem.
Thanks.
So yeah.
Thank you for getting up early to join us and read for us.
If you would just know the rest of you, but I just messed it. Yeah, I thought this was tomorrow and I did very wrong calculations about time zones, but here I am.
And we're glad. Yeah, no, that was excellent. I think Meli Kurata's piece is, really to the point. Meli Kurata also has a second poem in this issue, which is co-written with Stefan, who we heard from just before. And yeah, both poems really nicely explore how threatened I think people can feel by intersex bodies, but then also how vulnerable that can make us as the recipients of that fear. And thank you, Narinda, as well. Your piece, it's a really honest insight into some really difficult parts of your life. And thank you so much for sharing it. And your message about treating people well, no matter how different they are, is a really important one. For our final reading, we're going to share another pre-recorded video. This time it's from Free. Free is from Mexico and has a degree in language teaching, Spanish, English, French, and Zapotec. She met Brujulia Intersexual in 2014, and 1 year later, she became a collaborator of the same organization. She has participated in various talks and events about intersex in Mexico, and her testimony, An Orchid in a Rose Garden, was published on Brujulia's website. This piece was originally written in Spanish, and the recording is on the quieter side, so you will probably need to turn up your volume a bit. Thanks.
Silence raised intersex awareness. When I was a child, I always wondered if there was something wrong with me. I kept thinking and thinking about it, but I never had the answer. Let me tell you what happened. Well, I was born like a typical female. I mean female genitals, but when I was 2 or 3 years old, my body started to change. My clitoris grew. Pubic and body hair appeared, and I had a gray cloud spot. In short, I entered puberty at that age. However, that puberty wasn't the one that typical girls usually experience, but more like a male one. My parents took me to the hospital, but the endocrinologist told them not to worry about my situation. He said everything was perfect with me, and the process I was going through was completely normal. So I didn't get any medical care for it, and I became increasingly virilized over time. Since my body started to change, my parents have always insisted on hiding and silencing my intersex nature by telling me not to talk about it to anyone, not even to my sisters. This made me think that there was something wrong with me, that there was something to feel ashamed about, but I didn't understand what it was and the reason why I had to hide it. I had a lot of doubts about my body, about my appearance, about my genitals. However, I never talked about it. I wasn't able to. I wasn't allowed to. It was forbidden. I wondered if I was a boy or a girl because my genitals didn't look feminine. I didn't look feminine, and everyone used to say, not to me directly, but they used to gossip that I looked like a boy. I didn't really care about their comments, but I knew I was different. I knew I looked different, and I needed to find the answers to my questions. Years later, I decided to go to the hospital so I could know if there was something wrong with me. After months of uncomfortable checkups, at the age of 15, I was told that I had CAD, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. I finally felt satisfied because I had the answer I was looking for, something that explained perfectly what I had gone through. Doctors said I was abnormal though. They said that my body needed to be fixed so that I would not feel embarrassed when having sex. I never felt ashamed about my body until I was told I wasn't a normal person. I think all intersex people have to deal with different difficult situations that intersex people don't deal with, and we have to deal with ourselves, with those horrible feelings and thoughts we have about our bodies. Those thoughts and feelings caused by our doctors' prejudices. From the time we are born, doctors tell us that there's something wrong with us, that our bodies need to get fixed, and that we shouldn't know the truth about ourselves. Therefore, our parents get influenced by those prejudices and keep our intersex variation secret from everyone, including us. In my case, the doctor never told my parents to keep my body variation a secret. On the contrary, he said everything was fine and I was completely healthy. But my parents decided to keep it in the shadows. I think they wanted to protect me from bullying and discrimination, from people's prejudices and from society. But that's enough. It's time to say, stop it. It's time to stop the silence. It's time to get rid of prejudices. It's time to know the truth. This is the moment to change society and live our lives. It's the moment to live the truth and nature of our bodies.
It's a nice message to end on. Thank you, Free. These readings took a bit more time than I thought. We might run over by a few minutes. If you do need to leave, then of course, but hopefully we'll only go over by a few minutes. I'm going to pass over to Georgia now, our wonderful stakeholder manager, to offer some reflections. Thanks, Georgia.
Thanks, Steph. Kia ora koutou katoa. Greetings, everybody. My name is Georgia Andrews. My pronouns are she, her. It's been my utter privilege to be the stakeholder manager for issue 2 of YOUth&I. I met Steph through connections with intersex youth advocacy, and Steph was at a time 3 or 4 years ago one of the only young intersex people I knew, and my connections with Steph have connected me to other intersex people around the world. I am so touched to see so many international contributions in this issue. I think this is absolutely extraordinary. There's never been an international publication like this, not only from contributors from nearly every continent across the planet, but also in native tongue. Like Steph mentioned earlier, we are in a space where too often voices are dominated by European voices, English voices, and our Indigenous cultures are often forgotten or missed out. I just want to thank all of you that have submitted. It has been one of the biggest honours of my advocacy journey to engage with you all. I am totally humbled and so excited that for some of you, this is the first time you've ever spoken to another intersex person or contributed your work. I hope you all enjoy the publication as much as I have. Kia ora.
Thanks, Georgia. I'm going to also pass over to Gabby, our graphic designer. It's been so much fun, and as you can see, it looks incredible. Gabby.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, it has been incredible to work with all these incredible artists and writers and everyone's contributions to this next issue. It's been such a pleasure, and it's just being an artist, just like it has really just lifted me up, and it's just been a real honor. And thank you everyone for sharing your real personal and emotional stories. I'm holding back all the tears I can, so thank you. And thank you, Steph and Georgia and Morgan and and everyone else who contributed. So yeah, it's beautiful. I'm really proud to be part of it. Thank you.
Amazing. Clearly we've run out of time for any Q&A. If you do have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to just message us anytime. Issue 2 is obviously available for free online, but it will also be printed hopefully over the summer in the next few months. If you go to the link on the website where you access the PDF, I'll just copy it in again. You can put down your email and then we'll let you know when the books are available. And I'm hoping to be able to distribute this issue a bit more globally, and I'll send you through that information when I know as well. So that's it. Thank you everyone for coming, and a big thank you to all the contributors who shared really personal and touching stories. And I hope we can do this all again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.